Hi, I'm back from my brief holiday, and this week's weekly roundup is actually a little short. But we have FPGAs, SBCs, and other cool things I've found in my travels on the interwebs. This video is being sponsored by JLC PCB, who provide all my PCBs. If you want some quick turnaround PCBs, then I highly recommend them. They can produce 1 to 6 layer boards with a 0.4 to 2 mm thickness, track widths down to 0.01 mm, and supporting BGAs, cutouts, fingers, and other esoteric things. They are currently offering 10 PCBs for only $2. And if you're a first-time customer, you'll get $20 off shipping off your first order. Click on the link in the description below to check them out. First up on Kickstarter, there's an interesting campaign that converts a Raspberry Pi into a fully functional laptop. While it has a pretty decent coolness factor, I sort of question this because at 137 British pounds, you can get a cheap laptop that would outstrip the old Pi. But anyway, there you go. Maker phone sort of fits into this category as well. For $94 US, you can pick up your very own mobile phone that you have to build yourself. The kit comes with not only all the hardware, but has firmware that allows programming via Python, Scratch, or the Arduino IDE. So you can make your own apps and games, or just use the inbuilt ones. Way back in weekly roundup number 39, we saw the Laforet SBC. Well, now you can get your hands on a smaller version of this board on Kickstarter. The Laforet SBC runs the quad-core AM Logic S805X SoC, running at 1.2 GHz, 512 meg or 1 gig DDR4 RAM, eMMC, 128 megabit SPI flash, HDMI 2.0, 100 megabit Ethernet, USB 2.0, and sort of Pi compatible GPIO header. It's claimed to be the same footprint as the original Pi A+, but with a few differences. You will have noticed that there's no SD slot, so booting will have to be from either eMMC or network, but supports mainline kernel releases. The really interesting thing is that you can pick up the 512 megabyte version for only $10 US. That's right, $10 US. Or the 1 gigabyte version for $15 US. Nice. Another campaign for a couple of Raspberry Pi hats. The first one has a mini PCIe slot allowing a RAC 833 LoRa gateway to be added. The second board has a RAC 811 LoRa module providing a full LoRaWAN stack talking over UART to the Pi. The third one isn't really a Pi hat, but the same RAC 811 LoRa module with a microbit connector. At 120 British pounds for the gateway and 59 British pounds for the node, they are fairly expensive, but they remove the hassle of having to run your own LoRaWAN stack. Over at Crowd Supply, there's the TinyNES in pre-launch. This doesn't run NES games via emulator or FPGA, but on the original Ricoh RP2A03 CPU and RP2C02 PPU, which is the same as a graphics chip. Apart from that, everything has been updated, but alas doesn't support HDMI out, but instead the original NTSC video. NiteFury is another FPGA board in an M2 form factor. This is an upgrade on the Pico EVB with Xilinx RTX 7, 1 to 8 GB DDR3 RAM, and supporting 4-lane PCIe. This is one beefy FPGA board. On the outside, the Ninja USB looks like a harmless USB cable. However, on the inside, it's full of a lot of mischievousness. Once plugged in, it will behave like a normal USB cable, but the onboard Bluetooth module can then be told to run any variety of attacks that are configurable via the Arduino IDE. To activate programming, the onboard magnometer will detect the presence of a small magnet. There's demo code for moving the mouse or injecting keystrokes. It'll be interesting to see if you can read keyboard strokes as well. Over at GroupGets, you can pick up a Pixie Board Pro Plus for quite a lot of money. But for that, you do get the quad-core Cortex A9 IMX6Q, as well as 4GB DDR3 RAM, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Gigabit Ethernet, GPS, NFC, HDMI, 2 SD slots, and mini PCIe slot on connectors on the underside. So it's a pretty beefy board for the price. And if you want your very own SI5 MCU, you can pick them up at $5 a pop. That's pretty decent for these tiny open hardware RISC-V SoCs. In fact, I think I'll pick up a bunch of them and add this as an option to my next generation Pi projector board. Hackaday pointed to an interesting chip over at Teobayo, or however you say it. This seems to be manufactured by a company called Kendrite. The Sipeed M1K210 is a 400 MHz dual-core RISC-V chip with 6 MB RAM, 60 GPIOs, and supports TensorFlow out of the box. There's already a fair amount of documentation and SDKs available on GitHub, so it will be interesting to see what people do with this. FPGAs are still fairly tricky to work with, but with people like Luke Valenti and 1Bit² coming up with some easy onboarding, it's getting easier by the day. Jeff Liu has jumped in to help by providing libraries and hardware definitions for Arrow's Max 1000 FPGA board. This runs the Altera FPGA, which contains a CPU core, so Jeff's libraries allow you to get on board with FPGA design fairly easily. The RISC-V guys are currently looking for someone to push the limits of innovation with the first FPGA competition. This is being sponsored by Google, Microchip and Ant Micro, with the prize money being $6,000. There are 4 different categories available to enter based on either the Spark Fusion 2, Igloo 2 or the Ultra Plus boards. We've seen many projects around hacking Alexa into the ESP32. Well, now Espressif have released their own Alexa SDK. This supports audio, conversation and music services. Pretty much the whole lineup of services provided by Amazon. They currently only support the Lyra T based boards, but they claim it can be extended to support other ESP32 modules. The Friendly Arm guys have been hammering away at designs based on the RK3399. If you saw my NanoPi T4 review, you would have seen that it's one of the better supported socks, but a little power hungry. Now you can pick up possibly the smallest, cheapest RK3399 based sock from Friendly Arm. For $45 you get 1GB DDR3 RAM, but you can also get 2GB and 4GB versions. eMMC, SD slot, HDMI out, capable of 4K at 60Hz, MIPI CSI, Gigabit Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB 3.0, and thankfully USB Type-C power. The 40-pin GPIO header isn't a classic let's just copy the Pi Foundation GPIO header, but also contains PCIe pins and is also a shrouded header. It'll be interesting to see if they have fixed the logic level problems that I saw with the NanoPi T4, but for the price, who cares? If you're a fan of the Cubie Tech SBCs, then they are about to release the Cubie Board 9. This runs the quad-core Action S900 SoC with 3GB DDR3 RAM, 16GB eMMC, 100 megabit Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 2 HDMI out, EDP, MIPI DSI and CSI, and a whole bunch of other things that's making my mouth sore trying to say. But it does have LiPo battery support. Nice to see. The Octavo System guys are well known for their system on package that's used in the BeagleBones. Well, now they have a small upgrade on this SIP called the OSD335XC SIP. This adds in a 24 MHz MEMS oscillator and 16GB eMMC along with the 1GB DDR3 RAM, PMIC and EEPROM. This will reduce the size of SBCs even further, removing the need for external storage. If you saw my last mailbag video, you would have seen me unbox a pre-release of several new Seeed Studio products. One of them was an unknown board that they hadn't even put up on their website. Well, now you can pick up the E32A1S module, ESP32 audio kit, and ESP32 cam module from their website. The ESP32 and ESP8266 modules are pretty much the king of wireless hacking. But we're starting to see a bunch of contenders. Seeed Studio are now selling the Air 602 modules, which runs the W600 chip running a Cortex M3 with 1 MB flash, and supporting all the wireless standards you can throw at it. Supports both SPI and UART access, and programmed using LUART, which is some sort of AT command and Lua hybrid. We've seen several Pi0s used as a USB device before. Now you can get a small board from Adafruit that can be soldered up, providing a standard USB connector at the other end. I started to notice SparkFun getting into really expensive products for a while now. For example, for only $2,600 you can pick up an evaluation kit for a time-of-flight LiDAR. Evaluation kit. They also have a Nova RFID transponder for only $900 US. So if you have a spare couple of grand lying around, get one of them and let the rest of us know what they're like. The Texas Instruments Bluetooth modules have been around for a while now. Most of them are based on the 8051 core and are pretty decent modules, albeit a little bit tricky to work with. DF Robot now have a CC2540 based module providing Bluetooth 4.0 and Wi-Fi capabilities with USB and coin cell battery holder and 17 GPIOs of 3.3 volt logic level fun. Nice! If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit like, and if you haven't already subscribed, it'll be great to have you around. If you do want to support me further, you can join the fabulous group of patrons I have over at Patreon. So thanks for watching, and see you next week. Oh, it's arrived. Oh, but hang on. It's not a mailbag video.